knew like how I don't even take myself seriously sometimes. And now I have to go and interview this guy and be like, hey, so, there's a murder case here. Like, what are we doing? But then, as Amanda said, like, I didn't realize because, like, I met the prosecutor and he was, like, drunk out of his mind. And I'm like, okay. So if this man is drunk and he's prosecuting this matter, then, I mean, surely, I can also do it. Like, even though it was, like, my first criminal matter, I was just like, okay, look, just do what you need to do because anyway,
Hey guys, this is Anesu, aka Nyati Shonga.
Hello, my name is Chido, aka Chizzy.
Wagwan, Advocate Amanda here.
Hi everyone, this is Kuda, aka Cooks. Hi, and welcome to As Told by Us, the podcast. This is a weekly podcast where 4 professional millennials discuss living in Zimbabwe and trying to figure life out.
Someone once told us the grass is much greener on the other side.
But from where we're standing, our grass is green. Subscribe, like, share, comment down below.
hey, how's it going?
Hi.
What's up?
Hey. What do you do?
All right, so welcome to our, what episode is this? Episode 6?
5-6.
Episode 6? 5? Anyway, welcome to our episode. Hey, today's topic, guys, it's something that I have, had to kind of struggle with and deal with. And that's just, surrounding like insecurities and, imposter syndrome and all that stuff. So I just thought, let's just have a chat about this because I know that I'm not the only one who eases when it comes to insecurities. Okay, so I just thought, to ask a couple of questions, right? And I think I want to start with, do you guys have anything you were insecure about in the past? And how did you overcome that, if at all? I will start by answering this. I'll say, like, I've always been insecure about my body. I'll tell you. So, during like puberty or whatever, when you're like body is starting, you're coming into your body and like all these like curves are just popping out of nowhere. I was so like insecure about that because I was like, oh my gosh, even though it was like a nice body, but it was like now all of a sudden I'm becoming like a sex symbol or like a woman, and that made me feel like hella insecure because I was like, like I'm no longer like a child. Like I felt weird in my body, and for that reason, like I don't know, I just grew up not feeling comfortable and like not liking my body. I don't know. And I remember Amanda saying to me in uni even, she was like, why do you hide your body so much? Like, because I used to just wear like baggy clothes and stuff. And it was because like I was just so shy and, insecure. And I think it was Amma really who kind of, just her asking me that like, why do you hide your body so much? It kind of pushed me into thinking, oh my gosh, like I'm actually insecure about my body. And I thought I'd just share that. I don't know if you guys have any insecurities that you've kind of had to deal with.
How old were you?
I don't know, I was like probably like when I started feeling shy in my body.
Or when you think you got into that puberty stage? Was it early or late or normal time?
I think it was like, I don't remember, like 15 maybe, like when my body started, when I could tell, okay, hey, something is changing.
I think that there's something important that you said where you said you felt like you were now a sexual symbol, something like that. And I think that's what it is, because when you're 13, 14, 15, you're still a child.
Yeah,
You were
yeah.
like literally 9 a few days ago. And those changes in your body come with changes in the way that people treat you.
Yeah.
I remember being so like nervous about going home after school, like catching ETs, just because of just that
Catcalling.
that attention. Like, you don't know, like, men are so wild, because like you're a child in uniform, right? But you sort of have to put up with it. You have to deal with it. People will like follow you, and you're still a child. You still have a child's mind, but now people are talking to you and treating you in a way that's a bit different.
Yeah.
And I think it's so, I feel sorry for girls, because it's so hard. A lot of these young girls are looking so grown so soon. And I think that makes it so difficult to even get to that point where you start being comfortable with your body and its changes. So yeah, man, no, that's a real one. That's a real one.
So I was an early developer, right? I think somehow in the genes of my family, we develop quite quickly in terms of like we get our boobs quickly, we get our bodies quite early, right? I started my period when I was 9, right?
What grade is that?
4. I got my period actually, so grade 4, December. I remember we were on holiday with my family, we were in Durban, and that was like, we only started learning about reproduction and all of that grade 5. So that was even before I learned about the body processes. So I already had my period. By the time I went back to school, grade 5, and people only started learning about this, I already had my period. So when it came, I didn't know what was happening. I didn't tell my parents until like maybe 3 days after it actually happened. So on its own, that was...
Wait, how did you handle it?
I didn't for 3 days. I didn't know what was happening. And then I think the first person I told was actually my little sister. Not that she could do anything about it, but because I also didn't know what was happening. I just told her. So we were at the mall and I just kept bleeding. So I was bleeding for 3 days anyway, like nonstop. I didn't know what was happening. And then when I was in the bathroom with my sister, one of the malls in Durban, I then said to my sister, girl, I'm bleeding and I don't know what's happening. I actually thought I was dying. And then, and then my little sister, also the drama, my little sister starts running through the mall, shouting for my mom. And she's like, she's bleeding, all through the mall. And then my mom came, and then obviously she told me what was happening, and then she got me some pads and all of that. But we really, and I think my sister, she probably got her period also, maybe the same time, I'm not sure, but quite early, right? And then, so, and I want to say, I know the struggle with being female and men is a real thing, right? And the catcalling and all of that. But my first, okay, this is not a sad story, listen. My first, I'm telling you now before your reactions react. But my first molester was a woman. It wasn't a man. But because, again, my body had come into itself early, right? I don't know what she saw, but she was like this. I think I was 9 or 8. I don't know. I was something, but like 8, 9. I was a child either way, right? But again, like I'm saying, like we developed quite early. So she was our helper at the time. And so I don't know what she saw, but she saw something.
Okay, why are you saying it like that?
She saw something. But you know what I mean? Like, this is not like a thing where it was a man. I mean, obviously, as time went on, men started to also find me attractive. But like, my first one was a woman. It wasn't a man at all. But I don't have insecurities about my body. I always think even the fact that I got my period early, I got my body early, was for me empowering, because by the time all my friends in primary school started getting their periods, whatever, I was a master.
You're like,
I was the one, I was the one that was like, okay, this is what's happening. You're bleeding, and then this is what you need to do, and this is what you need to take. And, you know, I was always the one that, normally a lot of the girls started getting their period at school. So then I was the one that went to the teacher and said, hey, teacher, this is what's happening. This one just got her period. Okay. And then, you know, because I went to a co-ed primary school, would have to chase all the boys out of the classroom. The teacher always found an excuse, go do something, go play outside. You know, all the boys go, leave the girls alone. And then if she had spoiled herself or whatever, it was, okay, we need to call your parents, let's clean your desk, let's clean your chair, let's clean you up, get you a change of clothes. I think my primary school, when we were grade 5, they started insisting that all the girls always had a spare uniform. So it was changed quickly. Here's the pad. There was always like pads or tampons or something close in either lost and found or whatever, or with somebody. Whoever, the business office, the headmistress. Like, there was always some kind of sanitary wear. So then they would give you that, and they'll call your parents and tell your parents that it finally came, and all of those fun things. But when it comes to imposter syndrome, I definitely have a lot of that. I don't like to call it a syndrome, because I just kind of feel like syndrome makes it like you're sick. I don't look at it as you're sick. I just think when you're in a new environment or you're in something that challenges you, you do feel out of depth. You feel uncomfortable. So you feel like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm not equipped for this. I don't think it's a syndrome. I definitely think it's more, initially when it started in, imposter syndrome, they used to call it the imposter phenomenon. And I feel like that's a better word than syndrome. Syndrome just sounds like you're sick.
Okay, so like now that you've mentioned imposter phenomenon, like how does it manifest for you guys now?
Actually, I would love a definition. Like, what is it?
You're like, oh, I have one.
What is this?
So, imposter syndrome / phenomenon is a psychological occurrence in which people doubt their skills, talents, or accomplishments and have a persistent internalized fear of being exposed as a fraud.
Okay, so like obviously we're all professionals, right? And so now my question still stands, like, as a professional now, one, do you experience imposter syndrome? And if so, like, how does it manifest in your lives, like now? If at all.
I have anxiety.
About what?
I have anxiety about things that make me feel uncomfortable. So when I am, like I said, when I have a task that I feel like I don't know what I'm supposed to do here, it gives me a lot of anxiety. And I feel like, I don't know why you gave this to me, because I feel unqualified to do it. But obviously the reason you gave it to me was because I am qualified to do it. And I know I can do it. But because I have the anxiety of it, I then start to procrastinate. And then I don't do it. And what I recently learned was that procrastination is your body coping to stress. Mm-hmm. Right? So your body automatically shuts off when you start to feel stress. And so what it does is its own way of dealing with stress by not dealing with stress. Right? Mm-hmm. So when I start seeing myself procrastinating in a task, for me, that triggers me to say, what are you feeling about it? Do you feel like you're not good enough for this? Do you feel like you don't know this? What is the problem? And then I start dealing with that. And then you realize that once you've alerted yourself to what is actually happening, then you can get on with it. So if you don't know something, then you start your research and then you get to know it, and then you say, okay, no, actually I know how to do this. I am qualified to do this. I have experience in this. I've done this before, or it might look differently, but it's something that I know how to do.
I think I don't think I have it now, but I think the time that I experienced the most in terms of imposter syndrome and just thinking I'm not capable is when I came back from school. I think there's something to say about students who go overseas and then come back to do law, because there's this misconception that because you went outside, you must not have qualified to be at school in Zimbabwe. Yeah. The stakes are really high. Like, I think you need like 14 points or so to go to school at UZ or another university. And I think I felt that mostly because of, I don't think it was like an internal thing. I think it was external, and then it became internal. So it was people saying, you went where? South Africa. Because you didn't have this. Literally, this was one of the people I used to work with. She was like, Kasi, you didn't get 14 points. What happened? And I'm like, no, actually I did have. I was qualified. I did qualify, but my dad was like, I'm not sure we can trust the system right now. You need to go elsewhere and learn. Yeah. So I felt like that, especially when I came back, where people are sort of like thinking that you're not qualified and you're undermined in that situation. Yeah. But now it's more like, okay, now you can see, guys, I'm not daft. You can see my capabilities. So I don't think I felt that symptom per se. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, it's even just the experience of being a young Black woman. When you find yourself in spaces where you don't look like everybody there, you're younger than everyone. And your assumption is that, everyone is miles ahead. Yeah. I think for me, it came about in sort of perceiving that, everyone else is miles ahead and you're behind. And, for me, I felt it a lot, especially in practicing law, because that's more than just like a competency thing. It's like you're literally taking on people's matters. Yeah. There's money at stake, there's lives at stake, certain decisions that need to be made. And it becomes really important for you to overcome that phenomenon, because I just kind of learned, I don't know when it was in life, when I just kind of opened my eyes and realized that, literally everyone has no idea what they're doing. Yeah. My opinion is just as good as theirs. We're all trying. Everyone starts somewhere. A lot of the things, I always try to push myself, especially even in school, to just go for leadership positions, for example, because it's just one of those where you find that the people who are at the forefront are just the people who just said, they've been trying to. Yeah. And you actually find that when it comes to competence, you might actually know a lot more than the people who are now just there, but it's because they're just the people who are there. So I think, professionally, that was a very difficult one. But it really all comes down to self-love, I think. Yeah. At the end of the day, where you're just like, cool, if everyone else has that. I always call it the audacity of men, where it's just like you have no idea about a certain thing, but you're going to be the first one to run and be like, let me do it. And then I started thinking, why not? Why are we shrinking ourselves out of these spaces when it's really just a matter of just being there and just kind of, if you believe in yourself, then everybody else will be like, oh, okay, she seems to know what she's doing, and they'll let you do it. And it's really that simple. And once you figure out that hack, you start to feel like, anything is open in the world. You just have to do it.
Yeah, I had recently I felt like, oh my gosh, I'm an imposter and they're gonna catch me out sooner or later. So it was like for my pro deo matter, right? And I was just like, oh my god, this is like someone's life that I'm now all of a sudden responsible for. And if only he knew, like, how I don't even take myself seriously sometimes. And now I have to go and interview this guy and be like, hey, so, there's a murder case here. Like, what are we doing? But then, as Amanda said, like, I didn't realize, because, like, I met the prosecutor and he was, like, drunk out of his mind. And I'm like, okay. So if this man is drunk and he's prosecuting this matter, then, I mean, surely, I can also do it. Like, even though it was, like, my first criminal matter, I was just like, okay, look, just do what you need to do, because anyway, you're facing a drunk man. Like, what's the worst that could happen? Right? Like, my opposition is literally someone who's, like, coming to work drunk. So, I mean, I can do it too. And then also something that Amanda said that was interesting. I think as women as well, I think we're kind of, it's like a double jeopardy kind of thing, where it's like, one, you sometimes feel like, am I doing the right thing, or am I in the right space? And then two, you're a Black female as well in these spaces, and like you're trying to take up space, and it just feels like, yikes, am I like in the right place? So what I was reading something about imposter syndrome being like as a result of low self-efficacy. And that's basically like where you don't even feel like you're capable of delivering on whatever it is that you need to deliver. So now my question is like, how do you guys like build your confidence in the workplace? And not even just in the workplace, but in the world. In a world where people feel like, you're a young Black woman, like, what do you know? How do you build your confidence and like assert yourself to say, look, actually, I am that girl.
I'm supposed to be here.
Yeah.
I read something where it said, just going back to what you just said, Chida, that imposter syndrome is really not a feeling of lack of incompetency, but lack of confidence. Right? So it's not that you're not qualified for this, but it's just you don't have the confidence in yourself to do it. Right? So it does go back to what Amanda said about self-love, and also just hyping yourself up to say, no, man, like if I'm in this space, it must mean that I'm supposed to be here. Or even if I don't feel as confident as I should be. Because you also must remember, particularly us as lawyers, but in other spaces as well, women were not supposed to be there. The system wasn't built for us, right? So we are fighting the hurdle of trying to justify why we're here.
Yeah.
Right? And I was also reading that imposter syndrome was something that was used as a mechanism or a tool to discourage women from going to uni and from working, right? So it became something that men made up, right, to discourage women from going to uni. So it was basically saying, as women, you are going to have low self-esteem, you're going to have less confidence, which means you're going to be less competent in being able to work, right? Trying to keep women at home from working, discouraging them from working, because now you're going to face anxiety and depression, because the system anyway wasn't built for women to work, right? So how I deal with it, I think it is just to constantly remind myself, I have the qualification for doing it. I have the degree. I have the experience. I've done this before. I've worked in this space before. men are not scary as much as they think they are. They don't intimidate me. And just trying to remember my self-worth and always going back to my own closet and reminding myself, even with affirmations, whatever, just to say, you are good enough. You can do this. You know, you're fighting in a system that wasn't built for you, but you are making your own space and you're playing things on your own terms and in your own rules. And somehow something just has to give. And you are going to get through this, you know? And I think also worse still because my previous employer was not very keen on women and and women lawyers. They just weren't like, they weren't very keen on it. You know, you have conversations about, okay, so when do you plan on getting married? Okay, so when do you plan on having children? Okay, so if somebody took off, you know, because their kid has a gala or their kid has a sports day, or even just like the normal, what is it? School run. You know, it was a situation. It was a problem, you know? And you could tell that even the quality of work that the women got and that the men got was very different. You know, women got the small things. They got stupid things. Yeah, they got the clerical work. And then all the men got like the high cases, the good cases, you know? And what they said, the justification was men can go home late. Women can't. Men can stay late. Women can't. Men can separate family obligations from home. Women can't. So it's just easier to just give all the good work to the men, right? And then I moved to an employer who values women, who actually probably thinks that women are better than men. And
because we are.
Because we are, as they should. And now where I'm at now, where you are, you feel valued and you feel heard. It's such a difference, and you actually feel like, wow, I can become or do the things that I've always thought that I can. But it also came from somebody on the outside validating that you have value. But I also don't think that you should wait until somebody else does it for you. I think you should just always value yourself anyway.
Yeah. I remember in uni, I decided to do comp sci for a semester. So this is like a programming course, just a 101. I was the only black girl. There was only one other girl, like a white girl. And yeah. And it was just like white boys in the class. And it's like not just white boys, it's like those, I started taking apart computers when I was 3 type people who are like way ahead. And I remember the lecturer once saying, you know, I've noticed in my experience from teaching, the biggest difference between the girls and the guys in class. When the guys come across, like, you know, when you're coding, you're going to have, you know, the tiniest full stop can, like, make everything go haywire. The guys will get mad and they'll, like, bang the computer and say, stupid thing, why isn't it working? And the girls, when they come across the same problem, they go inwards and say, oh, no, what have I done wrong? What's wrong with me? I'm not doing it correctly.
Okay.
And he said that was the biggest difference between female students. And, you know, he wasn't even saying it in a sense of, you know, guys are better than girls, because, you know, it was just that perspective that we come with. And I find that it's true. I mean, there's a lot of reasons to it in the way that we're socialized. But I think it really starts with the self.
Yeah.
Once you get into that mode. And so I think after he said that, I really challenged myself to also then start externalizing problems and not taking it on and saying, oh, there must be something wrong with me. Oh, am I doing this correctly? You know, you become apologetic. You want permission to enter certain spaces. But we've all paid school fees. We're all paid the same stuff. You know what I mean? But then we've been taught to wait, you know, to make way for the others. You know, the tiniest things in the home, that's been taught to us. So I think it's quite an effort as a girl to come above that. And your question was, how do you get around it? I think the first thing is to shut all of that out and be your own competition, always. The moment you allow that external voice, all those things, it's really difficult to come out of it, because now you're comparing all the time. Oh, I'm doing this, but they're doing that. Once you make it about yourself and, you know, pushing yourself a bit further, I think it becomes easy. And I think, honestly, what's worked for me is fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
You're not ever going to feel 100% like, oh yeah, I'm that girl who's doing it. You never will. Like, literally fake it. Exactly. Fake it.
Yeah.
Because that's all that there is to it. Our mind works in a certain way. I think it's even a way of like protecting ourselves as humans. You're not going to just go into everything. You're always going to have doubts. But do it anyway.
Yeah.
Do it with those doubts.
Scared.
Just accept that you'll always be scared. And realize that everybody else is too.
Yeah.
So, you know, just do it anyway. Do it scared.
Yeah.
And love yourself enough not to make yourself the problem all the time. Sometimes it's the stupid machine that's not working. You need to have that inflated sense of self.
Yeah.
And I think with time it you know, you ease into feeling like yourself. Yeah.
I think it's interesting how Kuda was saying that it's something that was created for women. And it just like how we just started discussing this issue, we started talking about how we felt when we started this puberty and growing up. And for me, I think it's interesting that it's the outside that tells us stuff, and then we internalize it. And we say, okay, I'm not pretty enough because the sekuru so and so went yeah, what? Those, you know, it's interesting how we then internalize it, and by internalizing it, we get in our own way. We get in our own. We aren't able to like express ourselves properly. So I was listening to this TED talk because I didn't even know what imposter syndrome was. I was like, what? What is this? So she says,
Was it Brene Brown?
I have no clue.
Okay.
I'll check. And she says that one way of overcoming this is actually not to block it out, but to listen to what that external voice is saying to you and have an adversary. So basically, she's saying be a bit crazy, but have a devil and an angel. So the devil is those things that you tell yourself all the time. I'm not good enough. What am I doing in this space? I shouldn't even be in this boardroom. I can't believe I have this case and I don't think I'm capable of doing it. And you yourself should actually prop yourself through the angel or your superhero and be like, no,
I can do it.
I know I've known this person for 20-something years. This girl has gone to school, like what Kuda was saying. She's got the qualifications. She's got the degree. She can do this. So I thought that was quite interesting that we internalize so much of what's coming from the outside, and we don't know it's detrimental to us in the long run. So yeah, I think just trying to identify, this is my imposter syndrome. This isn't me. This is things that I've been telling myself for years, and it's not even true. And this is me, and this is what I want to do. I read a book called, what's that book called? The 4 Agreements. It's so good. And when I was reading, I was like, oh, it took me so long to read because almost in every chapter, it felt like he was talking to me. He was like, girl, all these things you're doing are agreements. It's agreements. The things you say are important. Like the things you say to yourself and the things you say to others and the things that people say to you that you internalize are also agreements that you're making. So it's just important to be conscious of those things and know what's coming in and what are you keeping in and what are you like banishing and saying, I'm not believing that anymore about myself.
Do you guys know about bicycle phase? Bicycle phase? Oh, the thing that they were trying to get women to stop riding bikes.
What?
So when they created bicycles in the beginning, right? And now women were also riding bikes, right? They said that there was a disease called bicycle phase, which was basically that you know when you ride a bike, you're technically going against the wind, right? So So your face looks different, right? Your face is paler, your lips are a little bit like out there, right? Especially when you're going up, especially when you're going up a mountain, right?
I wouldn't know because I can't ride a bicycle.
So now women were now riding bicycles.
That's
You gotta
two against.
I can ride a bike. Easy.
I'm
But
not riding bikes.
the point was that it basically gave you almost like a resting bitch face when you're riding a bike, you know? And, you know, your cheeks are flushed. And so they said that it led to depression and anxiety when women rode bicycles, right? And fatigue and just all this nonsense that they said, right? But because that was also at the advent of the feminist movement, because now women were going places by themselves without men, they also changed their outfits because obviously
You need pants.
they were now wearing more pants because the skirts just weren't working for riding bicycles. And now women were going further without men. Women also now started feeling like, oh, listen, we can be independent too, you know? So men created this bicycle phase where they said in women, riding a bicycle leads to all of these other things. And they sort of did that as more of a scare tactic to stop women from riding bicycles so that they could depend on men, so that they could, you know, have an escort and all those fun, wonderful things. But so when women started now going to uni and started going to work, then imposter syndrome came again as a scare tactic to say, you're not built for this space. This space is not for you. Trying to just scare them away from doing things that kept them away from the home. Because your place was at home, right? So I definitely feel like even men suffer imposter syndrome. I think whenever you go into a new space, you will feel some kind of anxiety and some kind of fear, you know? And I actually think that's a good thing. I think pushing yourself out of your comfort zone and doing work that you wouldn't typically do or doing something that is outside of your comfort zone is a good thing. I think it pushes you to a different limit. It takes you to a different place. And with imposter syndrome, it really is embracing that fear and trying something new or trying to push yourself and elevating yourself in a different way. You know, I think how Amanda said, with girls, it pushes you to think a little bit more carefully. You know, if, for example, you are working on a project you don't think you know how to do, you're more careful. You're checking all your T's and dotting all your I's. You're just making sure that it's how it should be. You know, it makes you more careful in life. And I think sometimes that anxiety is good. It signifies to you that maybe this is something you need to take longer in doing, yes. But once you do it, you feel that kind of satisfaction that, you know, I actually did that.
Yeah.
Do you feel as Black women, we have a little bit of pressure? There's something my friend said to me once about Black women in the academic space. I think she was doing her PhD. And, you know, she was frustrated with this one girl who wasn't, you know, was, you know, just like feeding into all these stereotypes. She wasn't like...
Pygmisha.
Yeah.
Was she a Pygmisha?
I guess in an academic Pygmisha. But just basically someone who's not doing the work. And she was saying, like, you know, she's putting us all back because we're all painted with the same brush. One Black girl goes to court unprepared. It makes us all look bad. It was like that time when there was, I think it was South African judges' interviews. And then that one lady just did so terrible. And it's a bit frustrating because that's the example that's given to exclude the rest of us from certain spaces. So how do you guys feel about that? Do you think obviously it's not fair, but do you feel that you're carrying that? Because I sometimes feel that burden to say that, okay, if I'm going to be a young black female person in a particular space, I'm basically the out for all the young girls who are going to come after me.
Yeah.
To say, well, the last time we let a girl into chambers, this is what happened, and she basically flopped. So you see, this is why women should just stick to
the kitchen,
stick to conveyancing. Yikes! You know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
Conveyancing. I feel that, actually. I think I do. I think in my line of work, I don't know a lot of black females, but I don't know a lot of females, period, not even just black. And I do feel that pressure, because I feel not only am I paving the way, if I do it well, am I paving the way for other people to see a representation of themselves, and I personally think representation is important. And I don't have a lot of women that I can look up to in my space to say, these are the women, and even when you think about I joke a lot of the time in saying, I'm going to be a billionaire. I mean, I kind of believe it. But I say that, really, I just say that, But I don't know a lot of female billionaires that have made it on their own, right? Besides, I don't know, I guess we can put like Rihanna and Oprah. But other than that, either you were a billionaire because your father was a billionaire, or you married someone who became a billionaire, then you got divorced, and then now you're also, they got half or whatever. But a lot of women that have worked their way to that position just by pure hard work, I think maybe is a handful. And none of them are from Africa. None of them are specifically from Zimbabwe. I mean, to be fair, Zimbabwe we don't have that many billionaires anyway. But I do feel like there is a lack of that representation. So you kind of, even now, even with the imposter syndrome, then it becomes, okay, you have this goal to be a billionaire. Who do you know? So why do you think you are going to be the one? So you do feel that pressure to say, I have nieces that I want to pave the way for. If I ever have children, I want them to also say, you know what, if my mom can do it, I can too.
Yeah.
At the same time, I feel like society is so violent and mean towards confident women.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I was about to talk about like attribution bias as well. Like what Kuda was talking about, to say that particularly for women, when a woman is successful, people will always try to attribute her success to, who did she sleep with to become, to get to the top, or who's she married to, or something like that.
Or they'll undermine her for not being married.
Exactly.
Or not having
Exactly.
Say, well, she doesn't have that.
Yeah, and being an African is like, akaromba, which is like, what is that?
Witchcraft.
Like witchcraft, using witchcraft or whatever to gain success. It just feels like, as a woman, there's just so many forces against you. It's like, if you're successful, if you work hard and you are successful, people will attribute your success to something
that's not you, something external.
Someone, exactly.
It's not about your hard work, it's not about the hours you're putting in, it has to be something external. But I guess that's the life we're living in, though.
Okay, so in conclusion, how are we battling imposter syndrome?
Can I just say, how are we battling imposter syndrome and any other like insecurities that we're like currently facing? Like how are we doing that?
For me, I've just basically committed to working on myself and for myself. I think that's made the biggest difference, where it's just like, look, I'm going to put in the work to making myself feel like, good. to feel good. And once you do certain things to build yourself up, it really can't be taken away.
Right.
You know, if you feel like you're lacking in your knowledge and you know how, go to school. Go to do the thing that you feel like, oh, I really love to be that. If it's about your appearance, put some effort into it, you know. Separate what's there and what's external. Work on it. If it's that you've been growing up in a place where you're always told something about yourself, then, you know, get that awareness, but just do it for yourself. Because at the end of the day, it's your life. And if you start to live it for other people, you'll never really be happy.
Yeah.
For me, I think my relationship with God has really helped me, because I know that I'm not any different from a man. And if you really read the Bible for real, you know that the girls in the Bible were badass. The men did nonsense. The girls held it together, right? And just to remember, just knowing who I belong to, which is God, and what He has empowered me to do, I'm not in a place by mistake. And there's a reason why I'm there. And then on top of that, just even therapy has really helped me. I've had to work on my internal dialogue and the things that I tell myself.
Yeah.
And who I am has really been very helpful. I grew up in a family where I was told that I can do anything, right? And why I doubt myself is because of all the outside noise, right? So just also shutting that out and having a better internal dialogue has really helped me.
Yeah, what they said. Yeah, I just think it's really, this one is more like a introspective chat. It's really about like yourself and the things you say to yourself, really, and the things you believe in, and how you need to like try and make those things into action. So if you tell yourself, because I'm really big on affirmations and just telling myself, I can do this, I've got the tools, I can do this. Because, yeah, anxiety is so real. One moment you're fine, the next you're thinking, can I do this? Am I able to? So it's been very helpful for me to just tell myself, having that conversation, like internal dialogue with yourself, and just, yeah, that's really helped.
I think like everybody has basically, you know, said everything. But I would just like to add that for me, just knowing the difference between what's in my control and what isn't. So for example, like all that external noise, it's just that noise, right? And that's completely out of my control. But what is in my control is my internal dialogue, right? And just having that like self-respect and loving myself enough to say, okay, look, girl, you can do anything you put your mind to. And I think, as Anisu said as well, and Kuda, that like, you know, having like a support system that'll also encourage you to be like, oi, you know, get out of your head. You really can do anything that you put your mind to.
Oi, get out of your head.
You really can do it. Oi.
Fun fact.
Hey.
Okay, so we're talking about imposters, no? So, in India, there was a man who scammed a 5-star luxury hotel into giving him a 2-year free stay. So the hotel is called...
Is it the audacity?
Roseal House Hotel? I don't know, whatever. But anyway, so this man checked in on May the 30th, 2019, and he left in January 2021. Right. So he was living there for, they said, 103 days, right? Without paying the bill.
The audacity.
The audacity! I told you, man. Anyway, so he colluded with one of the employees to give him a free stay for 2 years. And then eventually he was arrested and he was fined 70,000 US dollars, which was basically what he owed the hotel. But he wasn't the only one. Again in India, there was a man who pretended to be the resident of the UAE and an employee of the royal family of Abu Dhabi. Yeah. And he stayed for 4 months in another hotel, and he also just left without paying. He had also stolen silverware and sheets and blankets from his room, and he was said to have stayed there from the August 1st until November 20th of last year. He had documents, to be fair, that also corroborated that he was a resident of the UAE and that I don't think he proved that he worked for the royal family in Abu Dhabi, but I think he showed something, some kind of conversation or something, and that allowed him to stay without paying. And in Taiwan, 5 teachers at a preschool have been arrested for drugging students. Students? Do you call pre-K kids students?
The babies.
I don't know. Anyway, the babies. Right?
Pre-K.
Pre-K, yeah.
That's like a 2-year-old dog.
Yeah,
What are you doing?
So they were drugging them. So what they gave them was, so the students said that they got a magic potion. That's what the students call them. But what it actually was cough syrup. That was laced, yeah, actually, kind of. Because it was laced with benzo. You know, like benzo is used for like anxiety and depression.
Benzodiazepine.
Yes, that one. And
To make the toddlers calm down.
yes, but the problem was it had the opposite effect when they got home. So the parents report that their kids were either withdrawn, or they were starting to pull out their hair, or they were screaming whilst they were sleeping. From Bronco. Exactly.
Because you know what, the high was just too much for them. That's just what it was. Like, they just didn't know what was happening.
So these teachers have now been arrested and fined 46,121 United States dollars.
Per child.
No. in total.
I swear, I feel like I'm gonna be that mom that turns up on schools and funny things like this. Like, what?
Yeah.
And
What
that's
do? You just homeschool your kids?
No, because you also have to work, right?
That's an interesting topic for another day. Like, how would we parent?
And then one for us lawyers. In Canada, they have accepted that the thumbs up emoji can now be used as an agreement on contracts, and it's just as valuable as a signature. So what happened was a grain buyer was looking to buy flax from a farmer. They had a written agreement. The buyer texted the farmer thumbs up. They texted them the agreement just to say, please confirm that this is the contract, but it wasn't signed by the farmer. Then the farmer texted a thumbs up to say, I have received the agreement. Not that I agreed to the agreement, but I've received it. And then the court in Canada has decided that the farmer's thumbs up was an agreement to the agreement, to the contract.
Kind of makes sense.
Do you agree? I don't agree with it.
It's like an e-signature, bruh.
What did he say? Did he say, please confirm that these are the terms you've agreed on? Or
And
did he
then
say,
what?
please confirm you've received the contract? Those are different.
Yeah, so I was nerdy and I read the whole case. It's interesting though, because I also can't decide where I stand, but I kind of agree with the logic. So what persuaded the court was that the farmer and this person before had transactions like that, where he would send something and then the farmer would say, okay, cool. And then they would act in terms of that agreement. And so this particular time, the farmer was saying, no, I didn't agree. I was just saying I received it. And so it came down to the interpretation of what that thumbs up means versus the okay, cool, or oh, yes, no problem that he would say before. And the quote was like, in this day and age,
thumbs up means okay, cool.
Sharp. So if I send an emoji with hard eyes, does that mean I love you?
No.
It's context, but a little bit, yes.
And all right, for me, that's a dangerous slope.
Say a girl texts your man, right, and says something, I guess, suggestive. He doesn't say anything back to her, but he sends back a heart eyes emoji.
It means
He likes it.
Yeah.
It's cheating.
Okay, I guess in that sense, like if I found out that like my person was texting hearts emojis to an
But you know how like even the heart emojis, like the different colors apparently mean different things?
Yeah.
So like...
So if he sends a white one, it's okay. Because that means peace.
Yeah.
No.
Because you know
Why are you sending hearts anyway?
if I'm texting a heart emoji, I'm very like particular. I will not text... I won't text if I'm texting like somebody that I don't want like them to feel like my heart means love. I'll put like a black heart or something, or like a brown heart.
Why are you putting the heart?
Why don't we put heart in the first place? That's what I'm saying. I don't care what color your heart is.
Okay,
Why are you sending hearts? Period.
And what app was that where the single heart started becoming too big?
Yeah.
I think it was Instagram. Because for me, heart became a like. So it wasn't that deep until once I sent a heart and it's like blew up.
Huge.
Like, no, that's not what I mean.
I don't know. I think using emojis, particularly for work or contracts, I think that's not. Put a signature. If there's no signature for me, it's an invalid contract. However, if you are texting just on a normal conversation, because even now, even with Instagram and all of those, if you don't respond, you just like or react to it, right? And then it becomes like a reaction. But then the default reaction is the heart. Why are you sending hearts? Send a thumbs up.
The same thing as how like a heart reaction on Instagram is a like. So I'm liking it, but with a brown.
Why are you liking it? Why like? But also, I think that's
So wait,
Are we still recording? Because like
your chances that a brown heart significantly alters everything else. What is the brown meaning?
I don't know what it means, but at least it's not red.
This is how people move mad. No, babe, I sent her a black heart.
it's black. My heart
Because my black exactly. I've got an icebox where my heart used to be. That's what it means.